That's where they got the name. Are you
the right one?
Everybody.
Oh, please don't just come in.
Okay, switch. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to bring this session of the Morrisville Zoning Hearing Board to order Wednesday, January 3rd, 2018. First up, we must do our mandatory annual reorg. We didn't get to that yet. So first up, I'll ask for nominations for chair.
Ralph Persico, I nominate Steve Schmelzer for chairman.
I accept, and once again, I've made it to the top in a job that doesn't pay, if I get voted in.
I also make a motion that we kneel for secretary.
No, we got.
Let's vote on that.
Let's vote on that
first,
one.
yes.
All
We
right.
can get a second on
Yeah.
the,
Anybody wants to second it?
So-
I second it.
Okay, and may I have a board vote, please, for that?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all in favor. Motion carries. I'm it. Next up is nomination for secretary.
I nominate Wayne O'Neill for secretary.
And I also nominate Wayne O'Neill. You accept?
I accept.
Okay. Roll call vote, board only, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all in favor. Motion carries.
Great.
Okay. I nominate.
And we're good. No, that's it. For as member, that's it.
That's it. We're
Ralph
good.
is in. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right.
So, and next up is an overall roll call then. Please, if you could, Mr. Secretary.
Okay. Steve Schmelzer.
Here.
Wayne O'Neill, I'm here. Ralph Persico.
I'm here too.
Susan Zukowski.
Not here.
She's not present.
Jordan B. Yeager.
No, we have.
Jim
on
Esposito.
behalf of the order.
Jim Esposito. Here. And
Rich O'Brien.
Rich O'Brien.
I am here.
And Lorraine Robbins, recording secretary.
Okay, thank you. With that, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of Dale 395 LLC of Monday, November 7th, 2016?
I make a motion that we approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved. And also to approve the minutes of the meeting of Andersons Are Awesome LLC, which was on Monday, December 5th, 2016.
I make a motion to approve.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's approved. Okay, thank you. And next up is the reading of notice of zoning by the board secretary.
Notice is hereby given that the Morrisville Zoning Board Hearing Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday evening, January 3rd, 2018 at 7:30 p.m. in the council chambers of Morrisville Municipal Building, 35 Union Street, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, in the matter of the application of Tassius REP Limited Liability Corporation for the premises located at 850 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067. County tax parcels 24-010-230-001 and 24-012-081. Applicant is requesting the following variances for the proposed development of a food processing facility. Section 46515J3A, Section 46515J3C1, Section 46515J3C2, Section 46515J3C3, Section 46515J3D, and Section 465-8-18. Applicant also seeks any other special exceptions or variances or design waivers which may be deemed necessary for approval of the project. Documents relating to this matter will be available for inspection during normal business hours at the office of the zoning department at the Morrisville Borough Hall, 35 Union Street, Morrisville, Pennsylvania, 19067. All persons to be heard in favor or in opposition to the granting of this application may be heard at the above time and place. Morrisville Zoning Hearing Board. Thank you.
I just wanted to bring a point up. Under the public notice and also in the applicant's application, two of the sections that the applicant is requesting variances from were, there was a clerical mistake in the actual sections noted. They're not of a material nature, but we do want to note them. They requested a variance from section 465-15J3A2 and A3. Those sections do not actually exist, and it was intended to be C2 and C3. The board does feel that those are minor clerical errors and can be amended if the applicant chooses to do so.
We do make that request, thank you.
I do want to just point out we would, even though we do find them to be minor and not material changes, if you feel that someone could oppose it, we would give you the opportunity to re-advertise if you wanted to. We don't feel that's necessary, but we'd give you that opportunity.
No, we're ready to proceed, and the application specifically stated the relief we're
Yes.
requesting. So
And I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
If we could get the verification of the legal notice from
Yes,
the,
and let me just say there's a bit of a change here, although I guess at this point, Rich isn't our formal zoning officer yet, so Lorraine, as our code enforcement administrator, can address whether the notice has been properly posted and advertised. Yes. So we have an affirmative on that. We can move forward, please.
yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Frank Dillon. I'm from law firm Begley Carlin. I'm here with Steve Quigley and Heath Dumack of Dumack Engineering. They potentially will be testifying and can be sworn in. I also have John Passanani here for the applicant, the applicant, and he'll also be testifying. Would you like me to have them sworn in?
Yeah, yes, before we have them swear in, I am actually going to ask the audience if there's anybody else in the audience that would like to request party status to this matter. Seeing there is none, that we can move forward.
Okay.
First, before you swear in, I actually do want to put into the record the board's exhibits.
Great.
Okay. What we're gonna label the applicant's application as Exhibit B1. The public notice as Exhibit B2. Also label the applicable provisions of the borough's zoning ordinance as B3. Those sections were already read into the record. And we'll label as Exhibit B4 the preliminary plan prepared of the premises by Dumack Engineering dated September 8th, 2017. Is there any objection to the board exhibits?
No.
If you want to proceed with getting your witnesses sworn in.
Could you swear them in, please? I had a conversation today with Mr. Esposito, and we talked about providing some proof of standing. I have the first page and the signature page of the agreement between the Redevelopment Authority and Passey's Rep LLC to purchase the property. I'd like to offer that as an exhibit.
Yep. The applicant has given us a page that shows that the applicant Passey's REP LLC does have an interest in the property and does have standing to proceed.
I was just going to start with the zoning issues, but certain members of the audience were asking us what our overall plan was. So I thought, in the interest of informing the public, that I'd have Mr. Passanati give you an overview of what their intention is, if that would be acceptable.
Thank you. I'm John Passanati. I'm fourth generation of a family-owned operated company in Bristol, Pennsylvania. The building we are in right now is at 2092 Farragut Avenue in Bristol. We also own 2094 Farragut Avenue. Over the past 10 years, we've expanded our business by almost 150% and have completely outgrown our facility. In addition to that issue, without limiting our growth, we've also having hard times keeping our facility up to exceeding the food safety codes. So there are third-party agencies out there that we would like to be certified by, but our current facility does not allow that to happen. It's it's simply the drains that are put up. They were built too long ago, and they're just constructed incorrectly. One thing that it seems to be I wanted to make clear is that we don't render product. There seems to be a lot of concerns with smells that would come from a operation like this. We simply portion cut products. So we don't do any, beef doesn't come on hanging hooks, and we don't do any, there's no excess, there's just not the kind of smells that are associated with a rendering plant. We simply bring in subprimals like you would see at a supermarket. We cut those into different pieces, sizes, and private label those for direct-to-consumer marketing companies. That is the business we're looking to grow. One question came up, do we plan to cook? And again, to be clear, if we were to cook, it would be done with proper stacks and scrubbers to minimize any smells. And those smells, of course, would be of cooked food. It would not be of rendering down fats or any kind of off-putting smells. In Bristol Borough, we're on very tight quarters, and so we're very cognizant of what smells can happen from a food plant. So we've worked very, very hard in our facility to minimize those smells, and are managed to have neighbors across the street that we never hear from at all. In the heat of the summer, during months where we may have a little extra heat, which may cause our rubbish to give a little more smell, we simply increase the frequency of the rubbish removal to make sure that is under control. So we have according to the USDA inspector today, one of the cleanest trash areas he's ever seen. So we work very hard to minimize any smells that are associated with just regular, really rubbish. It's not necessarily directly meat related.
And tell what we're planning for this site.
So the main building that we're looking to build is to expand again. Right now we're in several different facilities. Like I mentioned, we have 2 facilities in Bristol. We also have to use outside cold storage. So what we're looking to do is grow and bring all these jobs to our current facilities, okay? Because right now we're outsourcing a lot of different things in a lot of different places and using different cold storage facilities. It's very inefficient, it's very costly, and it makes it hard for us to bid on contracts long-term, which makes it hard for us to leverage risk. If we were able to get everything under one roof and all of our product under one roof, we would be able to sustain the growth that we're doing, which would ultimately create jobs. Right now we have 48 employees. With our expansion, we will have up to 75 employees. So we're pretty excited about growing with our customers and growing with our community.
Mr. Quigley, why don't you show them where the initial buildings are going?
So the initial building is actually this darker blue rectangle in this area right here. The entrance off of Pennsylvania Avenue. Come in. This will be the main building. There is an addition, phase 2 addition plan for that building, and then some out parcels that don't have a specific use right now, but other than manufacturing is allowed in the zone. So All the loading, trash loading, things like that will be in the back and behind the buildings. And parking will be in front for the employees.
This isn't a final plan, this is just a rendering. Assuming we get the appropriate relief tonight, we still have to go to land development, and we'll address trees and drainage and all those things, so. That's really for the public, because I don't know that they understand the process, so.
So this is the rendering of the proposed building, like as mentioned, coming off of Pennsylvania Avenue. This would be basically what's facing Pennsylvania Avenue. So all of our parking, again, with the land development that we're just discussing preliminary, we would have a lot of coverage there. So this is pretty much what everybody's looking at. The trucks, which are concerns, truck traffic will go all around into the back. All the rubbish removal would go through the back. Again, in our business, it's very important to have a very clean look. It's not like the old days. And the contracts that we're going after, the companies that we're going into require us to exceed expectations. So having a very clean, pleasant look to our building and to our entire operation is absolutely imperative, or we simply won't get the business. So it's a real struggle in our current facility, but we managed to do it. So I can assure everybody that we're able to get this building up. It's not going to be any type of eyesore of any sort.
Any questions on any of that?
Oh, yeah, where do we start?
Okay, go ahead.
I don't, was he sworn? I don't know if he was actually sworn in.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Okay.
all three.
I think it's a group.
Okay, I didn't.
Yeah.
Group effort.
No, I didn't realize his help. That's fine.
Okay, Mr. Passanini, what are your proposed hours of operation and days, holidays, what, as far as operationally?
So currently we're still working one shift, but we are working a decent amount of overtime in order to take care of our overflow. Typical hours of operation are 7 to 3:30. That's when you're in operations. There is pre-operational inspections that are required by USDA as well as these other third-party agencies I was referring to that we look out to be certified. So you'll have some employees starting to show up around 5:30, 6 in the morning to do pre-op. You'll stop cutting meat and processing product at 3:30 typically. And then there'll be, some shipping, a little bit of, and then of course a wash down crew comes in every day to clean the entire facility. And then the process starts again. It's Monday through Friday. Typically we work, and we're looking to stick to the 5-day-a-week schedule. Growing up, we worked Saturday mornings to take care of a little bit of overflow, which was typically 7 in the evening. Again, the idea is to try to become more efficient so that we can run with less overtime, and this way we can price our products.
Right, okay, so with the daily pre-checks and then the afternoon cleanup, you're probably looking at hours of, say, 6 to 5:30 or 6, about a 12-hour?
I would say that's fair.
Okay, all right. And not holidays, I mean, the big holidays anyway.
Definitely not the big holidays.
6:30. For access to the facility, obviously you're with the front, or this is the west-facing view towards Pennsylvania Avenue. You're proposing the heavy truck traffic would be coming in off of Pennsylvania Avenue. And, I'll say you inferred that the rubbish removal may go through the north-facing driveway. My one concern there is, because the north side is the Morrisville Senior Service Center parking lot.
This actually bollarded it off so that nobody can go through except for emergency vehicles.
Okay.
There's going to be, why don't you explain the two lots? We're going to have 2 lots. One is this lot up.
Let's finish questions about the business and then we'll get on.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So, sorry, I kind of wallowing around here. My stream of consciousness listing of questions is showing. As far as noise concerns, I know the ordinance clearly states no malodorous issues, no noise. Is it like 70 dBA at the border or something that people might hear, or is it almost a silent operation per se?
It's almost a silent operation,
Okay.
especially with modern refrigeration equipment. You know, if we were to come and you know, check that in my parking lot with even our older equipment, I would say you can barely hear it.
Okay.
But the newer equipment that we're getting is it's extremely sophisticated. You know, it's hygiene system, it's slow motor. They start up very, very slowly, and it's very, very contained. It's a different type of approach to refrigeration than the old, you know, evaporators inside and condensers outside.
Right.
It's a different system now.
And you're not planning on a maze of large exhaust fans on the roof howling away or anything like that? Okay. All right. I guess maybe this is broaching away from pure operations, but as far as lighting, certainly an essential character of the neighborhood change would be if suddenly you've got, you know, banks of very bright halogens, xenons, LEDs, whatever technology you incorporate, lighting the place up incredibly for the evening. Are you going to, is it going to be very subdued in that respect?
Yeah, it will be, but I'm sure your subdivision or your land development ordinance has requirements where you can't throw light, and we're going to abide by all those requirements.
Right.
So you're.
Again, the area that, you know, up front here where we're talking about, you know, where I think the neighbors would say, we got like the second sun back there.
Right.
It wouldn't be the area we're looking to light up. It would be, if anything was lit at all, it would be in the back.
Right.
And that would simply be for security.
Shipping and receiving and security at the doors.
Security, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not looking to.
I haven't talked to the client about the lighting yet, but I can assure you that, you know, whatever lighting's out on that front side of the building is gonna have to be screened from the neighbors in front.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Comment on that.
Okay.
Help me through.
All right. Yeah. That piece of
From a
it.
meat guy, that's what would concern me, is, you know, where my doors are, so.
All right. Absolutely. Go ahead.
But exactly what type of meat are you?
Yeah, we
dealing with?
process beef, chicken, lamb, veal, pork, pretty much any raw proteins. We do a little bit of bison, actually. We're starting to do a lot of that with a new customer. And again, everything shows up in boxed beef. So they basically take the subprimals off and backpack those, and then put those in cardboard boxes. So we buy beef by the truckload or by the pallet, or by the case, really. It just depends on
Then what do you package it and
We
who's
package
your
it.
end customers?
Yeah, so, I mean, the supermarket, it's becoming popular now, like, you see like ground beef in a 1 pound vacuum package block, that's what we did.
Okay.
We put all of our products in those types of packages. So we have 4 of those types of machines online, and that's what we do. Most of what we do is geared towards retail, that's why, again, it's not a slaughter facility, it's really geared more towards, the end consumer is where we are in the food chain, no pun intended.
And do you have ISO certification, or are you seeking ISO certification?
We're seeking SQF certification. We're actually, in our current facility, we're going to get our first inspection at the end of February, which is safe quality foods. And there's a lot of ISO regulations that are overlapped in SQF. So as much as the programs are about safe quality food, they really kind of take an approach to the entire process, which involves, you know, a lot of safety, and good manufacturing practices that are then also audited by a third party that comes in. So it's really another layer, right? So we have the USDA there every day, making sure that we're operating under, you know, the right rules and regulations. We voluntarily want to do SQF, which is like an ISO. It's a step above the USDA in the food industry. You know, manufacturing, they don't have the USDA, so ISO is a little bit more common in manufacturing. So that would be our kind of comparable things.
And who do you get your product from?
Most of our beef comes from the Midwest, but again, we do a lot of private label work, so it sometimes depends on what the customer specifications are, and certain fields customers may choose to purchase the products and send them to us to cut, package for them with their label. But most of the product that we work with comes out of Omaha, Nebraska. There's 3 large, still privately owned companies right in Omaha, Nebraska: Nebraska Beef Company, Greater Omaha, and Creekstone Farms. And that's where we typically try to work with. Some of the bigger companies like the Tysons and the JBSs, IBP. Again, I don't know if those names mean anything to you guys, but they're like really, really large companies, global companies. So, you might get product coming in from Australia or South America, but it really depends on the customer specifications.
And at your location in Bristol, have you had any complaints at all?
Very rarely. And when we've had a complaint, we've dealt with it. And again, being in the space that we're in, we kind of evolved into some of the complaints we had in the past. But as I mentioned, that's why the USDA seems to give us such high grades when it comes to our trash area, because we literally wash it down every single day. We have, like pulling out compactors that are half full because they're, it just keeps it moving, it keeps it smelling fresh, it keeps everybody happy. And it's important to us to keep our neighbors happy, but it also is important to us to keep our products safe. Those types of environments, totally, that's where varmint and all kinds of other pests want to live, and we can't have that in or around our facilities. So it behooves us to take care of our rubbish.
Okay. Ralph, you have anything?
You have a concern about the number of trucks. You have refrigerated trucks and the number of trucks per day that'll be idling on the lot.
Yeah, I mean, typically, we're not going to be looking to have trucks idling on the lot. The only time we would have them idling is if there was a backup. So we're going to have 6 receiving doors. Right now, I have 2, really only 1 that's functional.
So there'll be nothing out on Pennsylvania Avenue waiting to come in?
No. Based on what we're looking at here, again, we have 2, only 1 that's functional. So yes, on Farragut Avenue, that has been a challenge. But the way that DUMAC has helped us develop this, or at least look at how we would develop this, you have area back here to stage trailers if need be, if all 6 doors were taken up at that time. We're also you would be investing in very sophisticated dock equipment. So literally, when the trucks pull up, they would lock into position, with cushions and a full dugout pit. So literally, the refrigeration can be shut off because our dock is going to be maintained at 45 degrees. So there's no reason to have those reefers just running. It would only be if, in the event, you have a truck come in early, a truck come in late, and something got backed up, and you had to stage him while you received another truck. As soon as the guy's backed up, he can shut his unit down. He doesn't need to keep it running out there. But they are refrigerated trucks. I mean, it's just kind of.
Will this be a green building?
We're doing our best. I don't know fully what that is defined as these days.
An energy efficient building?
Like I said, the motors, we are looking at, all the refrigeration motors is one of the reasons we're going in that direction. All the lighting we're looking to do is all LED. So there's definitely, again, getting us up to 2018 is where we're looking to go and look beyond that. So I guess the answer to that is yes.
So you'll have solar panels on the roofs and things like that?
After what happened to Dietz and Watson, I don't think I put solar panels on my roof ever. And, if I don't know much about solar as far as where it is, again, just being a volunteer and knowing what that chief was up against, I would never put solar panels on my roof. So if there was a way to get it put on our lot somehow, and these guys could figure out how to do it, we would be in favor of it. But again, the amount of energy, my prediction is the amount of energy that we're going to consume here will be less than the amount of energy we're consuming in a small building in Bristol. And that's simply for the efficiencies. Again, another reason why we really need to make a move. I mean, it's not if, it's just how and where. I mean, we just have to do it. We're just outgrowing this facility, both its age as well as its size.
I have a couple other things.
No, we'll get to public comment later.
Public comment, a little way. Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask Mr. Passanini, and this maybe reflects back a bit on what you've already said won't be an issue, but do you ever get organs imported and manufacture scrapple and tripe and pork roll or any of that other? Okay.
There's, just the only thing we would ever bring in like that would be the sliced bacon that's already packaged, that then we just pretty much resell. So it stays in the freezer, and then we will custom pack in order to a customer's wants or needs, and that would be scrapple. Again, don't manufacture any of it until we bring in a 1 pound block and freeze it and make that available to our customers to choose from. Yes.
In the repackaging process, obviously everything has to be sterile and then resealed. Do you use thermal techniques or do you use X-ray, some of the later super sterilization techniques? I mean, thermal, I would think, is far more probable to yield malodorous. You're going to have to vent hot vaporous emissions.
So it really, right now, we're considered a raw plant. And then we also have a program when you talk about repack, which is the USDA considers it fully cooked, not shelf stable, not ready to eat. So that means we're allowed to repack a bacon if we wanted to. So the only extra thing that goes through, other than us monitoring the temperature of the product before and after it's packaged, is it will go through an X-ray, not an X-ray, a metal detector for farm metals in it. But from a food safety standpoint, from what we are right now, we don't need to do what they call a lethality step because the product's going to be cooked by the end consumer. So that's not really a concern.
I see.
When we get to the fully cooked side, then that does become a concern. And then the next step is how do you do that? And that's through temperature, to your point. And there's many ways to do that: steam, impingement cooking, hitting a certain temperature, sous vide cooking, which is cooking in boiling water. There's lots of different methods, but that's considered a high-risk room and something that we hope to grow into, which is why when people ask, are we going to cook there, I don't want to get down the rendering path again. If we're going to cook, it's going to be finished entree type meals, not byproducts.
Okay, and I guess both metallic and plastic packaging, some paper packaging?
Everything we package currently is done with thermoformal roll stock machines, so that package that seems that everybody kind
Plastic
of
thermal.
just pick we have different shapes and sizes and types and all kinds of things, but everything is backpacked. And typically our size, the most popular size product we put out is about 12 ounces. So again, we're not talking large pieces. They're cut down 12-ounce steaks, or cut down 6-ounce fillets, or cut down 10-ounce sirloins.
And your customers will only be commercial? You won't have a store there of any kind?
Currently, we don't have plans to do any retail. That's some of the plan that we have there. There's proposed some future buildings that it's possible, but that's not our current part of our current business model. We're growing very well, kind of doing what we do best, and that's being able to service our customers that are doing the last piece. So again, trying to put out safe, healthy, quality food products is what seems to be our core strength. So that's what we're focused on.
No further questions from me. You gentlemen?
I'm fine.
Okay. You want to put on your next witness?
Okay.
Thank
You
you.
can have a seat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, Mr. Quigley's going to testify. He's handed out to you. I guess we'll ask that be marked as applicant number 2. It's just the proper size that you can all look at, size of the plan. The second one is titled variance request, what we're looking for. And the third one's an aerial overview. So if we can mark them collectively as A2, if that's acceptable. So the first one on variance I'd like to address is 46518, which talks about lot size. The ordinance requires the 25-acre lot size, which never could meet and never will meet. We currently have 13 0.6 acres. The existing Lot 1 is 0.71 acres. It's proposed to change Lot 1 to 2.06 acres. Lot 1, would you show the Lot 1 area?
This is Lot 1 area, and what we're looking at is initially we have this small lot, that's the parking lot, that's has an easement for parking to the county building, and then the remainder of this lot is actually part of the overall 12 acres or so. So we're looking at re-subdividing, making a 2.06 acre lot that would then be deeded over to the borough, and then the remaining 11.55 acre lot for development.
So that includes the Cleveland Avenue Park, which is going to remain undisturbed.
Okay.
So, and the other lot is currently 12.91 acres, and we're proposing to change that to 11.55 acres. So we are making some changes, so therefore we're proposing changes, so therefore we have to ask for the variance to have those different size lots. The second variance, we're talking about the 6% disturbance of the floodplain. And Mr. Quigley is going to show you and explain to you what that is and where that's at.
So if you look at the second drawing that you have, the second 1x17 looks like this. You'll see a line that runs through here that is the 100-year floodplain. And what we need to do is disturb a little bit of that to make connections for utilities. The sewer main runs down through the bottom of the lot, and water is over here in Riverside Drive. So to get to those two locations, we have to make a cut through those wetlands. And that's about all we're doing to those wetland areas, is to create those connection points.
So the disturbance would be a temporary cut, tie-in utilities, cover. There's obviously not going to be any further probability of damage to the facility.
It's all floodplains, so we're not doing anything there anyhow.
Right. Well, I mean, the concern would be if we did have a flood, would your wastewater treatment connection be solid enough that it doesn't break loose and cause some public health hazard? I know it seems improbable, that sort of thing. I mean, we just want to know that.
Well, while it'll be built to the specifications that are required by the municipality, you know, we're also tying into the main that runs through that same wetland. So
Right.
I think that those specifications will be handed to us and say, here's what you have to do for this
Right.
area.
So it's just subsurface disturbance, basically,
Correct.
permanent, and you're going to cover, and that'll be it,
Cover it, seed it, let it grow back.
and that's it.
Right. I don't know, at this point, my guess is that the utilities are going to say you have to mow it once a year or something, so that if we have to get to it for maintenance, we can.
Right.
But other than that, we don't expect to do anything to it.
I mean, there's no structures there that could wash away in case of flood or, you know, just all the standard concerns about doing any construction in a floodplain.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
The next variances we'll address all together, and that is C1, C2, C3, which talks about disturbance of the steep slopes. We have an explanation for this for you.
So we're asking for permission on the 8 to 15% slopes of 66%, where we're allowed to have 50%. On the 15 to 25% slopes, 65% disturbance in lieu of the 30 that's allowed. And then on the steeper slopes that are greater than 25%, 67% rather than the allowable 15. And what you see, if you look at this drawing per se, all these little gray areas that you see are the different slope types. The darker the gray, the steeper you get as you look at that. But what happens is we need to do that to create the level pad for the building area and also to create the area for stormwater controls to the back of the site. The interesting thing is because this site was a landfill at one time and then was capped with 4 feet of fill when it was closed, is most of those steep slopes that we're looking to take down to grade through were created based on man-made events on that site. So whether it was the filling of the landfill itself, the regrading of the area probably for the sewage treatment plant behind, They're all man-made slopes that have grown in with some volunteer growth that we'll talk about shortly.
Now, understand, it's not a virgin parcel.
No, and they're all very small little areas. It's not like we're taking out the side of a mountain because we want to create a level space. We have a basic level area there on top of the landfill that we're going to work with, but then we have areas that where the grading created those little bits of steep slope here and there. That's why you see these long lineal pieces of grade that's created by the grading effect.
I mean, the thought that comes to mind, of course, is if we reduced the expansion capability of the structure, and Mr. Passanini may not want to hear that, and change the siting around somewhat, we could probably move the retention basin back and eliminate disturbance of some of that. And if it was virgin, I would say that may be a bigger desire, but given that it's all disturbed long ago and not beautifully forested, I don't know that it's that big a concern. I'm just making this stuff explicit, that's all. And so I do understand how those slopes were developed. I don't know if any of the rest of the board has ever been down through that area. I've been down there. But I guess as a consideration, let me say, if there's a concern on the part of the board when we discuss later about granting variance for all that steep slope accommodation to allow the retention basin to be on the far eastern end of that parcel, would you folks be possibly willing to change the site around somewhat to not move so far east with or is that just not feasible?
Well, let me put a caveat on it that says we don't know yet, and here's the reason why. They're in the process right now of doing some testing out on the site to see exactly what is affected by the landfill and what isn't.
Right.
So we have tried to take our stormwater areas as much as possible to the east side of the landfill, hoping, and we don't know yet, but hoping that we'll have some clean areas where we can actually put in a stormwater management system that would allow us to then infiltrate
natural.
Get it off the site.
Right.
On the other hand, if we've got to build around the landfill itself, which is what we're showing right now, is building around that landfill as much as possible, and having to hold the water on there as a kind of a perched artificial wetland, then we need all that space to be able to make that happen. So well, I understand what you're saying. I just don't know that we can do it until we get the testing results back.
So certainly there's not a categorical exclusion environmentally for this site, and you're in the process of an EA type or EBS, environmental baseline study?
No, how do you want Act 2, right. They're doing Act 2 right now, and they're just doing some test wells to see what we actually have.
So there still is some uncertainty as to how best get the stormwater
Correct.
in a timely fashion back in the aquifer down below.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
well, yeah, the environmental issues are always a factor, but, you know,
Sure.
because it's a landfill, anything that we cut has to stay on site. So we can't take anything off. We can bring some on if we needed to.
Right.
But the idea here is to get this all capped at the right depths and with the right material so that the Agostino Foods can put up their building.
Thank you.
So the final variance talks about the forest areas, and I know you said you've walked it. I've looked at it. I don't know if this fits my definition of a forest, but Mr. Quigley's going to give you the explanation.
So we're asking for a 58% disturbance where 40 is allowed. This is most of the site. This is the playground area at the top that has been cut off a little bit. The blue line is the area of the landfill taken from a previous survey. And you can see where, you know, there are some trees that are back along the edges, but most of the area over top is just volunteer growth. If you go back to Google Earth and you look at some of the photographs over the years, you see it coming and going and coming and going. If it's been a dry year, you can see it disappear. If it's been wetter, it gets greener. But all in all, that's about where it is. Although when you look at the drawing that you have, the first one that shows the line around it, it looks as if most of that area is wooded, heavily wooded, and it's not. It's really scrubbed up, which is why we're asking for that.
What's the volunteer, I don't know what it is. When you say volunteer growth, what are you talking about?
Volunteer growth is trees, shrubs, and grasses that have grown in on their own, seeded by overpassing birds and ducks and things like that. But they've grown up over the years, and there's anything from short grasses to some shrubs back there to 2-inch trees, a couple larger, but most of it is, as I said, volunteer growth has just popped in on its own. It was not planted by anyone.
So there all the variances were available to answer any questions that the board might have.
Being that this was a landfill at one time, do you have any concerns as to the issues of the bearing capacity of the soil? Have you done soil studies?
The soil studies are being done. We are not the structural engineer on it, but I do know enough about these types of buildings that the owners will have to look at one of two ways to put a foundation, either driving piles down through it to get the bearing soils, or they're going to do what's called a floating foundation, which is super thick concrete reinforced and allows you to float on top of it and not sink. So they'll have to look at one of those two types of options.
Well, with the piles, would they be steel piles or wood piles?
That would be up to the architect. I don't know.
Do we know the nature of the landfill?
The landfill, as I understand it, was not trash in garbage. That it was, I guess, household products, construction products, things of that nature.
So we're not talking chromium or anything like that?
Not that we know of, but we do have to keep it capped no matter what. Which means that in lawn areas, we have to have a minimum of 2 feet of cover, or where it's paved, then we can use the paving as the cover. Which in this case is anywhere from a foot to about 1.5 feet thick, depending on the type of paving we're using.
So even where the trucks would be parked, you'd have to have a substantial foundation. You can just simply pave it.
Heavy-duty paving for truck parking in that area will be a minimum of 16 inches in stone and asphalt. And maybe more when we take a look at the loading capacity on the soil. So we have to get that information back.
So to me, the 800-pound gorilla is that we're less than half of the required minimum by ordinance.
Less than half.
25
The
acres.
25-acre minimum, for where we have, was 12.21 or 11.75, or I'm losing track of that math. It's approximately half of the requirement. Certainly, we want to, and I believe with what Mr. Passanini said, I don't think the facility is going to really be a major impact to the neighbors with noise and smells and lighting. And we didn't discuss traffic patterns yet at all. Briefly, I guess the number of trucks seems to be low, several a day perhaps. Approximately, worst case, 92 sedans for employees coming and going per day. Most of that, I guess, would be off of Pennsylvania Avenue.
All of it would be.
Okay, because that other, as you've said, that parking lot by the Morrisville Senior Center will be shut off only for fire and emergency services use.
Services only.
Okay.
Have some kind of a knockdown or lockable bollard chain type setup.
Oh, okay, so Cleveland Avenue will not be inundated with traffic,
That's correct.
nor will Bowling Green Avenue.
Correct.
We certainly have the balance of concerns over commerce versus not destroying neighbors' lives to be considered. So I don't know, we have to think about what.
Just to volunteer one other thought.
Sure.
Talking about the neighbors, is that part of the land development process will be to create a buffer around the property that will block headlights, block as much of that kind of activity from the neighbors. So we've started looking at how much of an evergreen screen we can get in underneath the existing volunteer trees that we can leave along the border.
Yeah, I mean, facading it somehow would seem to be a real necessity somehow. Whether you put in even a several-foot-high wall and a bunch of, evergreens, I don't know about deciduous, and try to screen the neighbors from it as much as possible.
And that's a discussion that we'll have with the borough engineer.
We've already had the discussion, but at land development, they're going to require that of us, and we recognize that, and we've already, the applicant's well aware of it.
Right. I'll ask, are there other parcels around that you've considered this is optimal for some cost reasons or availability, or what?
We want to stay close to this area primarily because of the employee base that we've grown with. When I got out of college, I think my dad had about 25 employees. And half of our success, well, a lot of our success is me going out and finding clients, but if I didn't have the employees to do the job, I certainly don't want to move out of their comfort zone.
Right.
There are sites in South Jersey, and there's a lot of incentives and whatnot for us to move down there, tax incentives and whatnot, but we really wanted to stay and keep our core employees employed and grow here where I grew up.
It's near Bristol for sure. And then this, I understand, this will become the new mothership processing facility. The other one will be shut down in time, is the concept? Possibly.
Yeah, again, so that is what we want to do. And we do have some people that are interested in taking on a facility that just has some refrigeration and whatnot. So, but that would be the end game, to have everything under one roof.
And of the approximately 48 existing employees and then a possible plus up of 27 additional, I mean, those hires may be local from Morrisville or whoever shows up that's qualified for the positions you have open.
A lot of what we'd be hiring for when we first open is, basically dock workers. So, we'll have everything from purchasing agents that we are going to be looking at. If we had the space, I'd be hiring right now. And as soon as I have 6 dock doors demand, we're going to need dock workers. So all different levels of opportunities with the building. And skilled workers too, cutting meat is kind of a dying art as well. So, a place for those guys that know how to do that job, so.
Let me say that we have a TBD then, based on the environmental studies that are ongoing, as to whether we could put the stormwater retention basin or overall stormwater design in a different location and eliminate the disturbance. Not that I think that is a huge concern, given that it's all old disturbed land, but there is the possibility that the design does change still. So we are looking at a draft here. My concern would just be if anything requires further disturbance, but you're sure this is the worst case disturbance you would ever need?
We believe so.
Sure,
It's highly probabilistic that this is
sure is an awful lot. We've done the best we can, given the information we have.
Right.
If we do have to do more, we'd have to come back and see you again.
Okay, understand. And this land, it's not owned by you, Mr. Passini?
Right now, it's owned by the Redevelopment Authority, and they've entered an agreement with Mr. Passanani, with his company, and that's the goal of the Redevelopment Authority, to get land that's not developed or has certain restrictions. As you hear, we have to cover it with dirt and cover it with soil because of the former landfill. Right. And that's the goal of the Redevelopment Authority, is to redevelopment problem properties.
Right. Okay. So certainly how this evening goes is a crucial piece of the whole process. And whether
yes, it is.
Yes. I don't have anything further at this time. Wayne?
No, pretty good. Most of my concerns are answered. I'm just, curious about the residents.
Of course.
I'm fine.
Ralph? Okay.
Do you have any other witnesses that you'd
No.
put on? Okay. Do you have any other exhibits that you'd want to enter into
No, I don't.
evidence? All right. Does anyone have any objections to the exhibits that the applicant has put in? No.
I
Okay.
just have to give you the redevelopment memo back. It's floating down here
Yeah.
somewhere.
No, I stopped at Neil.
So you have no further evidence?
I have
you wanna
more
put on?
copies of that.
I think that's it up there.
No, I have no further evidence.
Okay. All right. So any objection to closing the record on the evidence?
No.
No? All right. We'll open it up to any public comment. Is there any public comment? If you have any public comment, please go up to the board. Announce your name and address.
My name is Robert Butcher, 810 South Pennsylvania Avenue, Morrisville. It's only two questions. They've answered some earlier. Now this food, is it something like Omaha steaks?
Yes,
Some of it's raw, some of it's cooked.
yes, sir.
Okay. Are there any big tractor trailers going to come through midnights, at midnight hours of the day, of the evening? Okay.
We won't have anybody down there.
Okay, because the only time we get to sleep down here is Saturday and Sunday, But we can't open our windows until Saturday and Sunday either. So anyway, that was the main thing, as long as they're not coming through midnights and I understand what they're packaging there and everything else, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. I believe Mr. Passanani, I'll get the name straight, has already stated the hours would be approximately 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., Monday to Friday, no holidays. So unlike the steel mill trucks and other things, is that me? I got mine turned off, I thought.
No, it's Mike.
Okay, sorry. I hopefully, if this goes through, it wouldn't be bad for the residents on weekends and late at night and all that. Very, very big concern.
Hello, I'm Jim Zalewski from Morrisville, 48 East Cleveland Avenue, by where they're building this. And what I think of it, if it helps you guys, that used to be a lake back here. That was a giant lake back here, a natural, you probably know that already. And then the other part was, are you going to be going all the way down to the river? To the railroad tracks?
No.
Okay, now, one question I had that has been asked all along is this was supposed to be open space. I don't want to open up a can of worms here, but that property was supposed to be a open space. And for years, they told us this with the county. They says all the people up the north have all kind of open space. We don't have any. So they said, well, we're going to make this open space. They were supposed to enlarge the playground. I'm surprised that Mrs. Dietrich is not here. She really did a nice job on the park. But now they're saying that that's not going to happen. Yeah, I mean, like the back of it, how close are you going to be to the back of the senior center? The one part here about.
Back to the senior center? Yeah, which one? I mean, our side yard setback here is 20 feet, and then you've got probably 50 feet here off the property line.
Right, like here, that's only 20 feet?
Yeah, plus what
Well,
you have.
that ain't nothing there. I mean, we don't even have enough room to have a picnic. I mean.
We're not seeking any variance. We're going to comply with the terms of the ordinance regarding site.
Yeah, they are in compliance with the setback
On that
requirements
side?
on the side, yes. They're not seeking any variances for that.
Okay, and
As far as open space, we haven't been presented with any deed restrictions or open space, dedications. And if that is the case, that would probably come up in land development, that the borough would know if there's any restrictions on the property as far as that is concerned.
well, okay. I mean, I don't have to tell everybody here what politics. I mean, that's what they were saying for years.
It may have been a proposal, and if it was in the
Well,
record,
they
I'm sure it
talked
will come
about
up
it
during
like it
land
was gonna
development.
happen. I mean, all right, well, I mean, it's good. It's going to be quiet. It's not going to smell. How tall is that building? Is it going to be higher than the courthouse?
I don't know what the courthouse is, but I believe we're hoping for.
Oh, how tall is it? Do you offhand?
Plus minus 30 feet.
About 30 feet it'll be. That's not too bad. Well, all right. I just wanted to say that we should got to take that into consideration because we don't have any open space. So, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Great
Jim.
questions, guys. Beautiful. Yeah, we're going to be all right. Is there a chance to make this smaller? You just probably don't want to do that.
The answer is no.
No, not at this point. No.
They don't want to go a little bit smaller.
What they've proposed is the first building, if you look at the print on Lot 2, is just that rectangle.
So this is phase one that'll get built.
Mm-hmm.
This is phase two to be built in the future. And then these are out parcels that they're hoping they'll be able to develop and expand into there.
What's the timeline on these, for once you start building? Or even from now, going through all the permits and then final construction?
Well, I think that the timeline for the initial construction is as soon as we can get the land development, if we're successful here, we'll go right into land development. And as soon as that's approved, then we'll want to start construction as soon as possible because time is money.
Well, right. So how long you think before the building goes up? A year? 6 months?
I would hope it's under a year.
Yep.
If we could get it.
Maybe 6, but not sooner than 6 months. Probably not.
Depends on the township, on the borough reviews. With the borough engineer.
Oh, all right. So we're still a long ways from being done. I mean, even if you grant all of this, we still got a ways to go here.
This is step one.
Yeah, this is step one. And then their expansion even into step two, the other buildings, is all within the ordinance for setbacks from the side and all that. So, it's not within our purview to question that. We're only looking to address the 5 items they listed here.
Right, the variances.
Right. And everything else they have designed or preliminarily designed meets all ordinances.
Okay.
So we really have no authority to say no to that. Now, this redevelopment issue, if somebody has it in their hip pocket, this is going to be open space, which I don't know. I would think that would have come up already.
No, the redevelopment authority entered into it.
Yeah. So this is what would trump any other discussions from years past. This is what's being entertained as the proposal on how to use the land.
Okay.
It's tough to follow. It's tough to follow for us too.
Yeah. And then, the first phase, right? You say maybe 6 months will be done. Then with the second, you're going to wait and see how business goes, and then add the second phase.
That's a business decision.
Yeah, so that'll be later,
Same with
right? Because the one building, and then so that could be a couple of years maybe. See how things
Depends
go.
on business, absolutely.
And I'd like to say too, a retail I don't think is a bad idea if everybody's okay with that. You drive up and right, get the groceries, man, like a walk. Yeah, can you do that?
We can keep it in consideration.
Well, I mean, if it helps you. So, I mean, I'm not here to hurt anybody. We just want to make sure that our property values are not going to decouple. It's a very nice neighborhood.
Do we have any other public comment?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh,
You're welcome.
Sir. Is there any other public comment? Come on.
I'm Debbie Smith, and I'm 221 West Maple, and I'm speaking as resident, not as my capacity of a council person here. Ms. Dreisbach, which is who you mentioned, is very passionate about our parks, and she's been a friend for a long time. And I remember when this was first proposed, before the building even came, the design for that. And one of the things that she had mentioned was that park. down there by the senior center. And it's a small, like a little pocket park. And when the decision was made on all those parcels and how many that they needed, she did say that the one small parcel that was connected to the back of that was going to remain not in that purchase, and they did oblige with that. So she did ask for that extra space. So that one parcel that's in the back does remain back to back with that park
We
area.
have that.
Yes, that's just that you knew that, so,
right, well,
yes. Okay, just to calm that a little bit, but yes, and I was glad that we kept that too, so. And they, like I said, obliged that when that first was talked about, so, thank you.
So that you feel the Lot 1 community park then remaining untouched as a
Yeah.
part of this, it
Yeah.
really does satisfy a part of the intent. Ideally, they may have liked all 12 acres or 13 acres.
Right.
But we've got at least the 1.8 acres there.
Right.
Adjacent to the senior center.
Yeah, so if they wanted to expand that back a little bit, the park, there's availability to be able to do that. It was always something that was talked about years ago, that if they wanted to have that or just a buffer there
Right.
from anything that would be developed, whether it was them or anyone else in the future, that was kept there untouched. And so they did do that and comply with it that I knew of. And that was Mr. Eisbach being on that and saying, can we make sure that we keep that when it was first decided a while ago. So just to let you know that we did keep that little extra part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comment? All right. Hearing,
Can I just mention something?
very quickly, sir.
Well, we're going to put quality trees in. You said you're going to retreat the area. Are you going to put hopefully some quality trees?
You have an ordinance that we have to deal with,
Yes,
with
sir.
land development, so we're gonna do what the Borough Council wants, and we want to be good partners working with them. That's our intention.
I mean, what if they put some quality trees in,
They usually put in evergreen type because they're rapid growing and they fill
Like some spruce.
right, instead of deciduous. Right.
And that'll help absorb the sound, yeah, that'll help.
Okay.
If there is any.
If there's no other comments, we'll consider this matter ripe for consideration, and the board's going to take a few minute break and discuss an executive session.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Could I ask you about?
I'm fine, thank you, Neil.
Can we, is it all right to have one of those?
Crazy.
Already?
Snowflake later.
Snowflake hasn't fallen yet. Nothing happened. Yeah.
My husband's beside. So my husband.
How you doing? Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much. Yes, nice to
Well,
meet you.
again,
Thank you.
assuming I can get here tomorrow.
That's what I'm looking. I mean, I went from this
Are we open?
Can we wear jeans? My other room. I love that one. They already declared jeans. If they declare jeans,
I never agreed. I mean, we've done.
I'm old school.
Well, the thing is, I can find myself rolling under somebody's deck.
Yes.
A half hour. So,
I know. I understand.
right.
I understand.
So my wife was we have a relationship with the neighbor. You're dressed like every time I wear dress pants, I find myself in sticker bushes. I'm telling you.
My meter man today came in and I'm looking at it. You know, cobwebs. He says, "All right, let me dust my house."
Yep.
He says, "I was crawling in a space."
Yep. Yep. I find myself under somebody's deck in dress pants and nice shoes. No. Or, somebody calls in sick. Putting in section.
So you're fine. Instead of the judges like judge.
West
Get ready
Bradford,
to
Chester
give alarms,
County.
all right?
And you're like, "I'm on my way."
Exactly.
No, again, it was
Like I said,
it was more,
discuss
again,
it
it
with
was.
you guys.
I was
I was doing
during a renovation. So
So there was glowing plastic. We figured.
But if you have specific things, right, then I can open up the schedule.
I don't know how to put this, you guys
Right.
But when as you guys are doing this so-called spring something, not just the neighborhood, but it's pretty run down.
But it was just a matter of.
Back behind that park. So I'm wondering how we can work together to make it better.
When you say.
He was retired. And I had to, someone else.
He was out doing building.
So, most of this stuff to leave.
Right. Because I
Again, I mean, like I said, it behooves us to make sure.
Yeah, but Steve's an older gentleman.
We have to have the right for customers as well, and they're coming to visit our facility. The USDA, so, it's kind of like, it's kind of like doing a Cadbury's or a Whole Foods, that looks shabby.
Well respected, essentially,
So we're looking to exceed everybody's expectations where we can.
Because what I'm trying to say, so it shouldn't fall all on you. There's other people in the area that should step up to, and most people do. But I just want to step on it to you.
Well, I mean,
yeah, in 30 years. On board? I'm off the ramp. It'll all work out.
I grew up on Southeast.
Oh, yeah, right there.
Yeah, all right.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, thank you. How these guys
One time, there was a whole fed lake back. About that whole area. When I was a kid, they sort of tile mill.
Sure. Steve will get the notes.
Rubber mill, and then I remember the kids, you work with the older guys like brothers. You have a bunch of chocolate, you know, something like in the 60s. They go, we gotta get out of the top, that's where you go to control your.
Just like that.
It was a big,
They find stuff.
did something about 10 years ago. Yeah, no, I don't know what they're called. They basically take a sample, and there were some funny things that we found on our way down. That's for sure.
You know, one thing I will give you
Some weird stuff. But, one of the benefits is just by us doing this, part of it, we have to find where to put the pilings,
normally
the building,
four things I lay out.
that stuff's wrong. This is great.
The application and then plans.
I don't know.
Publication.
From my understanding, this is a better thing for, dealing with all the sins of those types of things.
Okay.
Unless I have something that's county, then I have to.
Yeah, it's the application and any plans, it's the proof of publication, and then the postal cert and the ground.
I have a sheet that they gave me.
Again, the smell.
And I just bring things down.
There's not going to be an issue.
Right. How many days I have. Like I won't be doing it.
Say that they didn't want to.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay.
And I can't tell them how to do it.
Right, get around, right. The other thing that I do, and I still do it, I've been doing it since 1996.
We had to adjust on the folder.
I actually
The only time we had an issue.
a standard piece of
Beforehand, whenever we had a problem,
and dates and everything. Now, it doesn't pertain. Half the stuff you don't have to do for every application, but it's just a reminder to you that I'm in 8 places.
the chief's just like, look, I'm just worried about somebody getting killed here.
And if something's left blank, I said,
Basically, I did
Community.
all the advertising. Help me.
Keep everybody happy.
And I did.
Yeah, that's the tough part.
yeah, it's
Yeah, but we'll do it anyway. You want to do it?
the state will probably give the public notice.
Keep everything.
And you can right, and I'll probably have Chris just go out first.
We just don't, we just don't do them very often.
Falling down.
Right,
That's
right.
bad. You know, back to back.
I have some communities that have 2 meetings a month. They do 4 applications.
So I don't worry about that.
Right. Yeah, more than we do.
We have a very.
4 applications a meeting. There's 2 meetings a month. So,
So every fall.
It helps the value.
I also get a Verizon.
Oh, yeah.
People need to live somewhere. Like when the mill went in, the steel mill. I'll let go back to town.
We're not gonna be the steel mill, but I'm definitely gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be,
yeah, again, it'll all work out.
doors. More likely be time positions than most times. Pretty quick. Right now, we have a lot of that work being done on site, right? So, outside storage, they're the ones unloading the truck. They're the ones putting everything away. So who's gonna do that when I have my own storage?
Right, you never know what you can do with the
I would say that's gonna be.
Like anything about trucks.
3
How are you?
3 canceled people.
I did a little truck driving. They were out there and their motors were on. I think you ought to stay over.
Yes, yeah, we were
They had a certain time and you can't move. So they got in there when I was in
Right, if they got in the night before, you mean?
or something. You know, they got removed, they can't move the truck. So they gotta get.
Yeah, I had somebody else in our office over in Langham tonight for the parking.
But staying overnight, those guys have to do that sometimes.
And those as well, I mean, again, we don't see that happening, but even so, the reefer units, the new reefer units, not
Yeah,
like.
I don't know.
Reefer units I used to deliver when I was a kid versus the ones that show up right now. You can't even tell the wrong.
What's like you're saying about the heaters, the heater I get bought from my house.
Had 11 years.
All those things you mentioned, all these little,
Right.
It's been,
molding.
It's slow,
Yeah, they start out real slow.
Yeah.
stuff up to
And
date.
then they only pick up as or whatever.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. You're gonna see much.
We were going to
Money in the
stop.
long run, we have keep our risk leverage.
With the lights.
Had it all, we just didn't get it.
That's how you do that.
Somebody walks through or comes, like I have,
All the freezers, it's set up that way, the lights are on all the time, but you walk in and turn it on, and then they turn on behind you. And then if there's an emergency, then it turns on.
In most of my communities, I've been in some places since 1996. I will, because I've been there longer than the members of the board.
Like I said, I wasn't sure. Like, we were talking about. They understood everything. Probably.
Similar background.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Which is also right out back.
We will have lessons on
You know, you figure.
Yeah, at one point I saw the camera do it.
What did I do? They had me do it.
So it could be anywhere from 24 to 48.
So everybody's talking and you can free. You can see their faces.
Right. The best one that I've seen, strictly a man house, the best one that I've seen. They must have had something. I saw like
Right now, on the borough, we are.
in the ICUs doing the microphones. And they stayed the entire meeting, they worked all the cameras, they literally have, like you have cameras mounted, they have trolleys.
We're just kind of going, telling everybody, Lord.
They wheel around, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination. Trail.
Our system. Have our one guy come in and help us out next week that set this up originally, so we all get a lesson.
Hey, that would be local. Most of our communities, they don't have it, I'll be honest with you. And most of our communities don't.
That will, again,
Okay.
it's so minimal because our product costs more.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're talking about jumping off.
we can look at numbers. Jump off. That's where the big problem is. They don't have tractor trailers and they have hard back stuff down there. And they sometimes just drink not in the center and pick up. It's like soccer. Yeah. I mean, literally not in the center. Like the meeting room is half the building and the public works department is the other half.
Public works precious, we don't have them around there.
Okay.
So can we direct our, especially our regular deliveries, to go 13 and then back around 9?
Oh, fine. I was going to say, you might want to let those people know.
Can't say everybody, right? So if I buy something, it'd be subbed out to them. I bought it from this guy, I'm trucking, it's subbed out. But we do have most, the trucks you see are regular. So, yeah, it's very easy to direct. Probably 60% of our traffic to do, say, that's how you put them in.
It's just a box truck. Girlfriends, book club.
That's fun.
Not only
Text message, Facebook stuff.
everybody here,
They must be hundreds of them.
I'm glad you're telling me. That would be a
I call it a drinking club, but that's only me.
Wine in the book is not a bad thing.
Right. I call it
That's probably what I've been doing
drinking
right now. It has like,
And he was
Oh my God.
can't have Marius trying to sleep.
different types of oversized people.
Winter storm warning in effect.
Right.
Morning snow, windy with blowing snow. Storm total 1 to 3 inches. Untreated surfaces will be slipped. No kidding. The hell you say?
I've gotten mixed up in that situation there, so it is confusing.
Every time I go to the street, and I skated down here. It took me 3 hours to go from Warminster to rear-wheel drive.
Mechanic and I'm not.
It's not the same, but it's real nice all the
You don't still have it.
First of all, it's really, again, our guys, they drive. I mean, we're coming.
Check my plane.
How you been? Good. What do you know? You running for mayor? What's going on?
We're gonna be jumping around.
Touched on a couple things. I just made a couple suggestions.
Yeah, but they'll be going for free sausage.
Well, that's next.
That'll be
next. That'll be next. I'm working on a job first.
Many tractor trailers are like that.
I'm only, we'll see what.
Good ribeye, we'll throw it on the barbie.
We'll see what, yeah.
Hello, Scott.
I would know.
We're hanging.
I live right there across from the courthouse. So we just, yeah, like I was saying,
Assuming I can make it
I think it'll up the value of the neighborhood when it's done properly.
I don't know. They canceled school already. And I have 14 texts from God knows who.
The other three guys are in the area. Like Steve lives in. Yeah. But I also have a good appeals here. Was it 30 years?
He's giving me the general.
Okay, I already gave her all the contact information. In addition to my notes, I gave her I'll probably be in the truck, sitting on the truck.
I'm saying where I live, the senior center, right behind there, is what you call, I mean, one of the things that like grew in. It was a lake.
What's the weather breaks, come March, the sidewalk, board inspections.
We call the infamous exit.
Get the kids out.
You know more about
How am I gonna get like snow notices and things like that?
Snow notices? I don't know. We walked literally almost every street in Langwood last year and stuck them in people's doors.
We have actually called state highway, and those roads can block. And we post notices telling them that they have a certain type of tool.
Okay.
Which, yeah.
You bring up,
I'll try and plan on being here, but then I'll call in on the phone. All right.
You got a good penmanship, my friend.
Oh, that's so you could read it.
Oh, okay, then here. I won't hold you to it.
This is normally it.
Okay, no, that's fantastic. Very good. Mine's not that good.
That's fine. Okay, everyone, I'd like to bring the meeting back to order. The variances of the applicant, Passy,
Sorry, the board has discussed, and if it is so inclined, they can entertain a motion to approve the application.
Yes. The variances of the applicant, Passy's REP LLC, are approved as requested in the application, subject to the following conditions. No ingress or egress through the parking lot located along Cleveland Avenue except for fire and emergency vehicles and personnel, which was a pre-existing, we just wanted it to be explicit. So with that, may I have a motion to approve, please?
Make a motion to approve the.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Does the applicant accept the conditions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
I just, let me read one little thing. Just, the board has 45 days to prepare a written decision. The written decision with the findings of facts and conclusion of law will be mailed to the applicant and every other party. There was no other parties. An appeal may be filed in the Court of Common Pleas within 30 days of the written decision. No appeals filed, the decision of the board becomes final.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Very much.
Happy New Year.
Okay. Next meeting for the zoning hearing board is Monday, February 5th, 2018. And may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting, please?
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.